Hello everyone. Sarah here. Thank you so much for joining me. I am here with the Tiny Clown die set. This is a video that I had created back in June and I just haven't got around to editing it and editing the voiceover, but I wanted to show the way of how to use the Tiny Clown die. It's one of my favorite ones in the June release. And I kind of like the idea of just playing and creating content that way. So this is something I want to do further, where I'm focusing on like one die, playing with it, seeing what I can do with it. And if that's something you like, give it a thumbs up or subscribe or leave a comment below. That definitely will let me know if this is something of interest. But we'll start with the Tiny Clown die. It's a little later, but that is okay. For this video, I'm just going to go through how to actually glue all these pieces together. I have already pre-cut everything in all the colors that I'm going to be using, and this will allow you to see which piece goes where. And I'll try to remember to add all the little timestamps so that you can just skip right to that part. And the reason I'm doing this type of video for this particular die is because there are a lot of pieces on this die set, and I think it's a lot of fun. And I want everyone to see what you can do with it. So what we'll do is we'll zoom in a little bit, and now you can really see all the pieces. We'll start with the hands. There is just one set of hands that actually have to be assembled, and that's the one that's holding something. So this is the back layer, and I've cut it in like a gray just so you can get that shadow effect. And there's two places that you need to glue, and that's the knuckles and the thumb. The knuckles have like a little bumpy side that's flatter than the other, and it will sit flush with the backhand or the background. And you can just use the jewel picker with both ends to kind of maneuver the pieces. This is a Trinity Stamps pickup stick or pickup tool. And then the thumbs just sit right there on the side. And what I usually do is just pick it up and just use my fingers and pick tool to just kind of push it aside. And you can see where the thumb and the knuckles are. And you can lift that up like that and tuck something in if you didn't glue it fully. And then what we have is the other two sets of hands, but these are not for assembly. They're already pre-cut, and you have one that almost looks like the mitt, the cartoon hand, and then the other one is like perfect for juggling. So there are the three sets of hands that are available in this die set. Next, we'll move to the arms. There's two sets of arms. We have the ones that lay to the side and ones that are raised up, and they each have the cuffs that glue onto it. So I'm just going to glue this down. The cuffs on the first set are the larger ones, and you want to make sure that the flat side is outwards. So everything's flush. So if you see that little chip that's like where the cuff meets, that will be going up the arm. And then we'll do the same, and then the small one is for the arm that is raising upwards. And just using my hands to make sure it's all flush and flat. And it also will have where the cuffs are facing upwards. And there we go. So those are the arms. Okay. So far, so good. Next, we'll move to the shoe. The shoe has three pieces. So these are the heels. I've cut them in black, and they will sit flush right to the very bottom. So what I kind of do is just move it kind of off the shoe, and then I push it so it's nice and flat. And then you have the shoe piece, that's the front of the shoe, and that will also sit flush right there over top of the background, and this creates your shoe. And you have a left and a right to both of those, and they're identical ways of putting them together. It's the mirror of each other. And there we go. So if you do find that you put the heel on a little too high, then you'll notice that the white piece will sit high too. So maybe it might be easier to do the white piece first, because I find that the skinnier it is, the harder it is to line because it can move. But there you go. Now you have two little shoes, and you can do those in any colors you want. But of course, I picked the blue and white. We'll move on to the smiley face. So there is one smiley face that has the makeup, and that is the white background. And I'm going to cut the smile in red, and just to showcase this. It could have been black, but I thought the red on the makeup is perfect. And then you have the nose, and we'll put that aside for now as we do the eyes. Now, I got them mixed up, so don't watch this, wait till I fix it. But those are not the eyes we want to use for this white makeup because it's too big. I mean, you definitely could, but they are a little bit bigger. The ones that were designed for it are these tinier ones. And I'm just using the pickup stick to just put them onto the glue. And then I can use my pokey stick if I need to move it. You can use your fingers and stuff, but I find as you're getting into this and you're gluing everything, if the more you use your fingers, the more glue you get on them, everything starts to get messy and stick to everything. So there we go. And those are the cheeks that come with it. And then those are the other eyes. So you can have just solid eyes. Now we get into the trickier ones. Now I glued this a different way than what was in the what's in the how it's actually supposed to be done. The eyes are supposed to be kind of the other way around, but I did them this way. And you have the little two dots, and there's also these very tiny teardrops, and I've cut those in blue. They're very hard to see on my white mat, but I will put them just on the edges there, and then a little bit of glue, and you can see the little tears, and you get two tears. You can use one or both or none. You can just have the fun eyes, and there we go. There's the crying clown face. So those are all the faces and eyes except for one more, and that's the glasses. But let's move into the accessories. We have these suspenders, and this is very simple. They look like exclamation marks, and you just put those dots right onto the bottoms, leaving a little bit of a gap. The tie has two pieces. You'll have the background and then the one layer on top that fits perfectly on the top there. And then we have the bow tie, which comes in three pieces. You have the complete background. You have this layer, which sits on top. It's not going to sit flush with the background. That little bump in the center will be slightly higher. And then you have the knot on the center there. So you can choose to do them in different colors like I did. You can also choose just to do the knot and one layer if you don't want to do the three layers, if you don't like that, but those are the options that you have. The tie also includes the little collar, and there we go. It's hard to see on the white, but you just place it on top of there, and now you have the collar with the tie. Then we'll move into the last face that I had mentioned. This is it's the goofy one. It's the one with the mask and the nose. I forgot to cut the nose, but it'll be there in a second. But let's put the eyes together. These are very tiny little circles. So I'm going to use my jewel picker to just place them right in the center and let them dry a bit before I maneuver them too much. Using the jewel picker, you see they do get sticky, just to kind of center that a bit. And that will sit inside the frames. So there we go. And then there's the nose. So you can have fun with that, creating a fun little face with the glasses, nose, mustache. Now we're moving on to the single flower. This flower has one of the smallest little pieces of the smiley face. So if you find that challenging, you don't have to use them. You can also use sticker tape almost, where you die cut on sticker tape. So you place it on the back of your cardstock, and then that will make it a little bit easier. But I found there's just three little small pieces, so it's not too bad just to use the jewel picker and just plop them on there. Pretty much what I did was I just added the three dots of glue, and then I will just place them on top and then smush my finger on there to try to pick up any excess glue, and then use my jewel picker to just clean that up. And then you have the stem. So the flower does come in the 4 layers, the white, yellow, green, and then the face. And this is what you can use to tie in with the hand, which I'll show you a little later. Then we have the hat. There are 2 hats. So this is the baller cap. I think that's what it's called, bullet cap or a bull cap. I'm not really sure. It has 3 layers. I did them both in black for the hat, but you can do different colors if you would like. And it all sits nice and flush. And then you have the little ribbon. I did it in red, and that sits flush with the brim of the hat. And there you go. It's a nice little hat. And then we have this fun little one. This is one of those hats that have the spinny little piece on the top. So I've cut that into 4 colors to show you all the pieces. You have the black, which is the piece that sticks out of the hat. And then you have 2 spinny pieces. You have the flat one, which is straight across. And then this yellow one is actually the one that is spinning. So it's the other blades that's kind of spinning there. So I chose 2 different colors just so you can see all the pieces. But you can use something, you can use a different shade of red just to show that it's the same thing, but it is in a different direction. But there you go. It just sits right on there, and you have this little spinny hat piece. Now we'll move to the final pieces, and this is creating the body. I add a little bit of glue to the body, and then we place the pants just slightly above so that it is creating this overlap. So the pants are obviously bigger than the body. And then we put a little bit of glue around the neck or the shoulders to place the head on. And that's all you need to do for that. And that's the easiest thing. Big pieces, and it's very fun to just cut those in different colors and have fun. And then we'll do the hair. There are 2 pieces or 2 hairstyles. We have the curly hair, and they both go onto each side. And then we also have the little tufts of hair that we can just put right above the ears, and that's kind of fun too. I actually will show you an example later where I use those to be really bushy eyebrows. So you can totally do that as well. So let's show you how to create how to glue the hair. Both will be the same. You just glue a little bit on the edge and put underneath the clown, and then you do the same thing on both sides. So the other hair, the little tufts of hair, you do the same thing. You just glue a little bit and then stick it behind the head. There we go. Don't need too much glue. Sometimes I go a little crazy. And there we go, leaving a little bit of a gap at the top there. And now we have our clown. So I'll go ahead and show you what the second clown looks like. And now let's start gluing these 2 clowns together. I will have some pieces already cut off camera to make the second one, but there's our shoes. They just sit right subtly on the bottom of the leg, just slightly overlapped. And we'll do the same. I decided to cut this one in with some yellow. For the second clown, essentially, I'm using all my scrap pieces that I had left over from creating the first one, so I'm not wasting too much. So the colors are going to be a little different, but that's okay. These are clowns. They're meant to be colorful, right? So for these arms, you want to make sure that the elbow is pointing down and the hands are facing upwards. That's what it's designed to do. You can totally have fun and play around with different arm positions, but this is how it was designed, and because he's supposed to be juggling. And then for the next arm, I'm going to have these facing downwards. And once again, you can have them facing in different directions. Just play around with what you like, but this is essentially how they were designed. It's just kind of be placed down to the sides of their body. And both pieces are essentially the mirror of each other, so they should be identical in the left and the right. Here's the flower I was talking about, clutching it in the hand. So what we'll do is you can kind of lift that piece if you didn't fully glue it, and then you can stick the hand or the flower inside of that. Just so that it's nice and secure. If you've already glued it down, then you can always just stick it to the side, kind of in between the thumb and the hand. For the juggling hand, or juggling clown, we have the hands that are kind of flat facing up. So you just put a little bit of glue on the bottom, similar to what I'm doing with these mitten style hands. and then you can just tuck them underneath the arm. Now these hands that I'm gluing now, those could be white because they could be almost like mittens that the clown is wearing if you'd like. That could also be an option. Now we're going to put the bow tie, but I forgot about the suspenders. So we're going to put the suspenders on afterwards. But you just put a little bit of glue and layer it on the line of where the chin and the neck kind of meet. So this is how the suspenders will be placed, but I'll move them over because we still have that tie we want to use. So we'll put them underneath the bow tie, just lift it slightly and just place a little bit of glue. They will sit right underneath the shoulders or on top of the shoulders and then a little bit down on the pants. Maybe about halfway down the pants, then you know they're kind of in the right position. For the tie, we'll put down the collar first and then we'll just add the tie right on top where the little knot is layered on top of the collar. Now we're going to get in and add some faces. For the first clown, we'll add the makeup. And so that will sit really close down to the bottom. You can almost sit it flush to the bow tie. You can kind of see how the face is, that it kind of leaves a nice little margin around the mouth. So you can kind of use that as the gauge. And then the makeup eyes will go down next because we want to make sure that the nose sits on top of everything. So everything is kind of layered. It's going to be really squished. There's not much meant to be space. And even with the cheeks, they're right close to the makeup. And then the nose will sit right on top of everything. So the eye corners and then the mouth. Then we have, I'm going to use this little funny mask. So I have the eyes or the glasses already glued down. I'm not sure what happened. I seem to have missed the recording on that. But once again, we want to do the nose last. So we'll put the mustache down, the glasses, the white and the little eyes, they go right in the center of the glasses. And then once we have all that down, we'll put the nose, and then we have these fun eyebrows. You can do a fun little expression, or you can just have them sitting there right on top of the brim. That is kind of essentially what they're meant to be, sitting right close to the brim, because it's supposed to be like one piece that you stick to your face. And then we will have these little hats here. And I think that putting that little, I'm not a big fan of these little hats. I think they just look really silly. So I'm just going to put that on the silly face clown, really making them look ridiculous. And there we go. We have two clowns set up. And just to show you how the juggling goes, I've cut them in 5 colors, and then that's how the juggling goes. So you would just glue those to your page. To show you some little examples that I've created 2 more following this scheme using the scraps that I have. So we have a yellow top on that one, and then this one is just similar to the first one. And then I've cut one almost like a Charlie Chaplin in a antique style. And then we have 2 little heads I was playing with. Those are the bushy eyebrows I was talking about. And then we have like a Ronald McDonald looking character that I used a white ink gel pen to highlight the nose there. I've also created 2 other cards that you can see in my videos, and they are a black and white one and more of a retro one. So you can have a lot of fun just playing with them. Now I stayed very similar to how they were designed to play with, but you can totally change things up and just have fun creating fun clown dies. I hope that this was eye-opening to show you that it's not so bad. They're actually very easy to put together. Everything that I've done to show you, minus the cutting, was roughly about, I would say, 45 to 50 minutes to make all of this. The die cutting was takes the most time because you just want to choose all the colors you have. But the easiest way to do that is just put all the dies on one color and just cut them through, and then do that for all the pieces that require different colors. But that is die cutting. Die cutting always does take time, no matter which dies you use. Anyways, I don't want to hold you up too much longer. I do hope that you enjoyed this. And if you are interested, the product will be linked down below. And until the next time, have a fantastic day, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.